What happened? I step outside to roast an L. I come back and all the crybabies are cried out. What happened? I step outside to roast an L and all the crybabies are cried out. Shame on it.
I got plenty of good.
You got a lot of tear tissue alcohol? I know you use so much over the years, man. You sure you could have keep afford to buying it? Habla inglés. Hey, listen. I don't have. I have.
I know how. I ain't that.
He no have manhood. He no got manhood.
You know, have when you take an example, you take one orange, you cut the orange in there in half, and you get half, and you give it half to someone else, or you save it for later, and you eat it later. But only you got half, I ain't got half. That's what I ain't got half. But I ain't got what I ain't got. So if I got the whole orange, I got the orange. If the orange I cut in half, I got the orange. No matter I cut in half, I got the orange. I not got half of the orange. I got the orange.
All right, well, you got the orange, but let me ask you something. I don't know, Alcone. You're too close. Maybe asking you this question is wrong. But Alcone, man, does it make you laugh when you hear him trying to battle me using my words, my lyrics, my topics, my hook points, and my vocabulary, the way you watch me to do to him and bring him to his knees and break him down hysterical crying?
You try to what you do is try to be friendly.
Yeah, I'm original, right? You mean, it gets him beat so bad and so aggravated that I make him look like what he is without having to try hard, and his own mouth does it. But, you know, it makes him mad that when he got to listen to it, he figures out how much of an asshole I made him look like. And it doesn't really sound right, you know, my kind of impact blows coming out of his mouth, because he ain't got the kind of testosterone that makes them sound real in his voice. Like his skirt of me trying to lure somebody to my 20, man. Hey, I'm not the one that paid private investigators to get told 590 Clarkson. I'm not the one that begged for directions 2 different times in 3 months of how to get to Utica and Clarkson. The Utica between Clarkson and Lennox is not somebody's 20. It's where you said you were coming for 2.5 years to tap a man on the shoulder. I mean, you know, by me inviting you to my 20, that makes me look like that I'm accepting your homosexual advances and that I'm your kind. I would never do that. You know, if you're dumb enough to show up at my 20, you know, then I'm dumb enough to do what it is you need to do. But don't show up in the back, and then before I get out there, you already ran right out of there. Make sure you go to the left. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you're going to be where Richie's going to come out, where you know he's going to come out. You know what I mean? I mean, the crackhead theatrics and the little junkie ploys they try are utterly amazing. But then again, when I think about all the shit that came out of their mouth for the first 2 years and I hear what they're doing today, I have no choice but to ejaculate on my correction because it's hilarious.
The chemical in the drugs and the mental illness, imbalance. There's an imbalance of chemicals in the brain. That's what's causing the mental illness.
Really, Punky? So what do you perceive to be a mental illness? Is it a mental illness to keep repeating yourself day in and day out 100 times a day? Is it a mental illness to accept the same gender as you for a sex partner? Is it a mental illness to tell people you have videotapes you do not have?
Illness. That's what Richie is suffering from.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, I feel you, man. I understand. I understand defeat. I understand embarrassment. I mean, I don't understand what it feels like. I understand when I'm hearing it, though, clearly.
But they take medication to suppress that.
Who's they? Who's they? Who does he know that's like this?
That's why he talks reckless. That's why he is very, how can I say, delusional. You understand what I'm saying, Alcon?
People misunderstanding what people talk about. Because it's not the mental, it's not the mind, it's not the language, it's not the what you read, it's not what you eat, it's not what anyone talk, it's not what anybody say. All the problem is the chemicals. All started when someone use chemical in someone or someone takes something to
No. Alcone's not going to back you up or hold your hand. Alcone very much wants to see you fall because he knows you're a punk.
He's the one that's treating you. He's not something, nothing else.
So I don't think you understand what an imbalance is, a chemical imbalance. You do not understand what I'm saying, right?
No. Chemical is chemical. The chemical is outside. No, it's not in your brain, it's not in your mind, it's not nowhere. It's only in the drug. And some chemical they put in the food.
No, you're not understanding on what I'm saying. Yes, chemicals, external chemicals induce a reaction in the brain. That's true. But there's also when your brain doesn't have the proper synapses, all right? The proper synapses are not firing because of a chemical imbalance, all right? Something that you're born, all right? There are people born with certain ailments, all right, of the mind, of the brain, and it's called a chemical imbalance, and you have to take medication for it, all right? That's why you see people in the psych wards, what's the first thing they do? They give you medication so that you don't go crazy and start ripping everything up or trying to hurt others.
Wow, this cat works in a psych ward? Or is he talking from his personal experience?
You may understand usually in what other people say. Because you say the chemicals imbalance in the brain and the mind. It's not like...
Alcone's staying to you. You're saying Richie has a chemical balance because you're not understanding what he's saying.
And then in the time, the mom here, they start doing that reaction in your brain. Because you take that drug and you swallow it, and that affects your brain. It's not your mind, it's not your brain, it's not the natural way you are, the natural the people live. It's what they're putting there, but it's not good for no one. That is the problem.
No, you don't understand, Alcone. The problem, forget about drugs, forget about liquor. There are people that suffer from it called...
That's right. Forget about those two, because Richie don't do no hardcore drugs or drink liquor. He smokes weed.
You're an alcoholic. It means that you suffer from mental illness. Look it up.
Can you see me, Alcone?
And the TV you hear bullshit, you see bullshit, and the radio you hear bullshit. Everywhere, people believe the bullshit, and they believe the bullshit the doctors talk to the people. People believe to the doctors. Doctors talk bullshit also.
So you're saying doctors are bullshit? You don't believe in doctors?
I got my experience about doctors. I know what I'm talking about.
All right, well, if you had a bad experience, don't mean you condemn the medical profession. That's not fair to the doctors.
Mr. Enforcer, are you a doctor trying to make an assessment? Do you work in a psychiatric ward, or are you defining what it is when you go in psychiatric wards, what it is you've seen as a patient in your first-hand knowledge?
The person is the chemicals they put in different the drugs and food and other things, and sometimes you don't know, and they give you something you don't get. Sometimes they testing the medication on you, and you don't know about it, and then you find out years later.
I agree with you to a certain extent that doctors they don't always have the correct answer. I agree with you. I'm not defending the medical profession per se and saying that doctors are perfect. No one's perfect.
I'm trying to find out, is it Foster trying to tell the world now that he is a doctor who works in a psych ward?
A bad experience yourself. I don't know personally what you're talking about as far as your situation. They do it.
Well, you don't know Richie personally, but you seem to do a whole lot talking about him. Oh!
Unless I really, really have to see one. And I'm very healthy. I have no issues. But, they do experiment. That I admit. I mean, they'll give you this medication and they'll tell you, well, try this.
Somebody got to ask him, how does he know this?
You kind of like, more or less feel like a guinea pig. I understand what you're expressing at that point, in that matter.
No wonder why he's all fucked up. They used him as the medical science guinea pig.
I have some faith in the medical profession because there are a lot of good doctors out there. But unfortunately, there's so many drugs that have negative effects. And I think that's what you're getting at, is that, or at least what I'm trying to get at, is that they'll prescribe A, B, and C, but you take one medication and it can have 50 to 60 different side effects. So that's why I don't believe in medication myself. I don't need it and I don't take it because there's nothing wrong with me. But my point is there are a lot of people out there in this world that are mentally disturbed that do require certain medications so they can be nonviolent, so they can function in society. And that's basically what I'm getting at, because there are a lot of individuals on the trains, on the sidewalks, in the homeless population, and even in the but this is not something I'm making up. This is statistics. You can look it up yourself. And when you hear individuals like Richie with his rhetoric, that's a person that's extremely psychotic. You could be psychotic and still function in life. It's just certain things you believe in that are not true because you're living in a fake world, in a fantasy world. And, people like that, you hear it all the time. I happen to know someone that's on this channel that he does that for a living. He deals with people like that. And he sees firsthand, what they say, what comes out of their mouth. Very similar. So, it's not always external chemicals and drugs that causes, strange behaviors or people that just lie because they believe in their own mind that they possess 4 badges or they're marrying Sade. It's sad. It's a sad world we live in, Elcom, but this is the reality. And I see it on a daily basis. I see it a lot, man, and it's really sad, and it's not getting any better. And now they want to legalize marijuana. So, hey, what are you gonna do, man? You just looked last week. The last couple of weeks, there were several instances on Broadway of Myrtle of people ODing from K2. All right?
I guess this is where he cops his K2.
People are ODing on that shit, turning into zombies. Fucking can't breathe, passing out on the floor. This is what I'm talking about.
That's what I talk about you to you. The problem is the chemicals they put and whatever those people give it to you, give it to people. Because those people don't care about people. That's why they do that to people. Those people do that to people because they don't care about people. Because they only care about make only money. Because they don't care no one. They really not kill no one. What they do is killing people.
No, I understand. I believe me, I know, and I had this conversation before, that the new drug lords, the new drug dealers, are actually MDs. And I don't say that jokingly, because if you look at the prescription drug epidemic with painkillers, Oxycontin, oxycodone, and all that other stuff, they were doctors writing scripts and making money. They had these little, how can I say, these little facilities where entire towns would be given prescriptions. People were just caught up on that shit, man. And they caused a whole generation of addicts because they were prescribed these drugs when you really didn't need it. I'm talking about the opiates, the painkillers. And it's sad, man, because, once they weren't able to get those painkillers, the next thing they can get their hands on and was cheaper was heroin. And now there's a big epidemic with that. You look in Long Island, Staten Island, a lot of areas where they're predominantly Caucasian. Kids with their parents have money. One way or the other, they're getting the money for that shit, man. It's sad. It really is, man. I don't look down on anyone, man. And believe me, it's sad when you see young kids, man, in their early 20s, so fucked up on that shit. It's something that I don't wish on anyone, man. It's like living in hell, but you're on this planet, you're on this earth. So when it comes to addiction and what I see people go through, I don't take it as a joking matter. That's why people that sell that shit, I call them Satan's soldiers, man. That's all you are. If you're a drug dealer, you're just a
His best friend, CK, tells him he's forever selling crack, serving Richie's people, and feeding him crack. Wow, I don't believe he said this about his good friend, CK.
Because you're legally writing scripts.
The power of the video game.
The person don't really need it. But it's just a way to enhance your revenue. But they're cracking down a lot on that, man. They're cracking down on it. But, I don't have...
He says they, always referring they to the cops. Not him, not his so-called partner, not his fake-ass creds. I'm trying to figure out, is he a doctor or a janitor now? The power of the video game.
The answer. My answer is do your thing, man. Work, put your work in, retire. Hope you make it to that age where you can collect Social Security and just live your life. That's basically my answer to the whole problem. But it's not that easy for everyone, because not everyone has that plan. Unfortunately, a lot of people fall into the trap, man, of addiction. And, it hits every aspect. It hits all races, all economic status. It doesn't matter how much money you have. When that shit gets a hold of you, man, it's like walking in quicksand. It's almost impossible to get out. All these fucking rehab centers, a bunch of bullshit, man. They're not really there to help you.
See? He has first-hand knowledge of his personal in rehabs. You see what I'm saying? Man, the power of the video gate. I am the king of New York City. The man.
Roger. Let me get some iced tea. Let me run to the kitchen. I'll be back in a little while.
Alright, so this is going to take you a little while to come back to get that glass. Make sure you bring me back something to eat, man. Make that time smoking crack useful while your jaw is numb.
You see, Richie? You seen the conversation I just had? I know you're one of Satan's victims, man. I'm just trying to help you, dog. I'm just trying to get you off that shit.
Well, I'm not going to lie. You came clean, man. You exposed your buddy CK, man. You said all that bad shit about your buddy CK. But listen, we have to ask you now, man. We understand you're not a cop or law enforcement the way you always refer to day cracking down or what they should do or they're going to. But listen, we're having a hard time here. Are you a janitor or are you a doctor? Or are you a patient in these places where you've actually seen this and have this exquisite first-hand knowledge? I don't know. My video game's been running live for over 23 minutes. I think it was a beautiful conversation. It was very enlightening.
So are you going to take your meds? Did I convince you? Are you going to take your meds?
Mr. Enforcer, I don't take your meds. But in case inquiring minds want to know, what kind of meds might they be? What is it you believe I might be taking or should be taking?
You know exactly what you should be taking. Richard, you know exactly what you need to take for your psychological issues. Because if you were taking your medication, the stuff that comes out of your mouth wouldn't be coming out, Richard. So you do the math. It's not too hard to figure out that we all know you're psychotic and that you're suffering from acute psychosis. But the meds will take care of that, at least impress it to some degree. You know what I mean? You feel me, Doc?
All right, well, to be honest with you, dude, if that's the case, I'm going to come straight up and tell you. No, I have not taken my medication, dude. I didn't go to Facebook at all today to Sade's site, so I didn't get my dose of meds. But I understand, I'm starting to understand that psychosis. So what you're saying is it's because you did not take your meds that you got delusional and told the whole world you had a videotape of me smoking crack on Utica Avenue, or because you did not take your meds, you're talking about your Kevlar and your tap on the shoulder, your pair of pliers, what you're going to do to me, the kick, what's going to happen when you punch me. I mean, is this all because you didn't take your meds that night?
Richard, no one wants to punch you. Why do you keep insisting that there are people out here that want to hurt you? Why do you feel that way? Do you feel like I'm the enemy? Do you feel like I'm Lucifer? Why do you feel that I want to punch you or hurt you, Richard? Why do you feel like this, sir? Can you elaborate?
Oh, I certainly can. Without me getting all psychotic and crazy, I already know for a fact you are not Lucifer, because if you were, I would have took your head off your fucking shoulders and took you out of that human body for the next 100 years. But nevertheless, dude, what would make me believe this? Well, there's a playlist on YouTube called NYCRADIOWARS and the Big Money Here playlist. And in the Enforcer hump day, begging and pleading, you go into explicit detail of these actions. So, you know, I'm just trying to understand, you know, if that, I mean, I understand your definition of psychotic might be, you know, I'm going to tell the world I got a videotape I don't got of this guy, you know what I mean? I understand that's your vision of psychotic. But see, in my world, on my job, you know, with my creds, what I do, if you're psychotic, the statements you make about you have pliers, you're going to hit somebody, their tooth's going to go flying, you're going to kick them in the back, you know, or, to me, that is a person who is psychotic. And if that person ever shows up on my sidewalk, if I'm fortunate enough to leave that person that threatened me like that alive or intact, I will actually commit them for being psychotic without having them arrested. I think it's a lot better just to knock the shit out of them and have them, you know, committed for being a psychotic, because the actual institution is going to hold them longer than the 90-day disorderly person fight charge. So, you know, I mean, I'm not that skilled of a street cop as I was in the 80s, but I'm really, really articulate and really, really, how can I say it, put together. You know what I mean? In other words, I understand the game board. I understand the reality of things. I understand perfectly what you did to yourself. And I understand truly what it is you're trying to convince the public of. But I'm going to have to tell you, to convince them on anything, you're going to have to show your video. Or you're going to have to show up with your Kevlar and your tap. See, I already convinced them of everything I am. That's why they come to me. Everything you say I am, I didn't have to convince them that I was not. I used your own lips to prove I'm none of that. And when they stand next to me and do business with me, they see that I'm not. So I guess you could say when it comes to the reality of things out here, not fantasy now, we're not talking fantasy, we're talking reality, I'd have to say I have the ultimate upper hand. Now, I don't want to stop you from going and getting your cup of tea. I understand you're not doing fag Java tonight. You're doing tea because you want people to say coffee, tea, or you. Well, listen, I don't want either, especially if you're on the menu. But nevertheless, Punky, do not allow me to stop you, dude. Because, I mean, if you want an elaboration, I can play it for you. It's on Videogate. I can play it again, Sam. As a matter of fact, that's what I'm going to do for you tonight. Seeing as you're trying to convince the world that you are not psychotic and you're not delusional and you do not suffer from ADD, I'm going to answer your question that you asked me before I keyed up with your own lips. How do you like that?
All right. You're keeping me from my tea, but let me just stress this point. You just said you convinced everyone that who you are. From my understanding, I never see you present any badges from any branch enforcement. I've never seen you present a uniform with the NYPD. I never see any creds being displayed on any of video gates or to anyone. So you cannot verify any of the claims that you made other than your own claims that comes from your own mouth, which is basically worthless. Because anyone could claim anything. I could claim I got $10 billion under my mattress, but is it believable? Of course not. You claim you got $24 million. Is that believable? Of course not. You claim you were marrying Sade, Joe Pistone is your partner. You killed crooked cops. Your mother was a prostitute. By night, by day, she was a hairdresser. Richie, come on. What do you want people to believe out here? That's insanity, man. Maybe, in Fantasy Island, people might believe that shit. You know what I'm saying, Richard? But sensible, educated people listen to you, listen to 5 minutes of your conversation, and they'll say, yes. Yeah, he's cuckoo. Don't believe a word he says, You got no credibility, Richard. I'm not saying people go to your crib or go meet you. Of course you're not going to have a crack pipe in your mouth or in your hand. No one's saying that. But your own mouth is your worst enemy, Richie. One day you have to listen to yourself and really say to yourself, shit, man. All that shit you've been saying, wow. They're right. Enforcer's right. You do need to take your meds, Rich. You really do, man. Real talk. You need to take those meds because some of the claims you make is just mind-boggling. It's funny. I understand. I know you're just joking, man, but I know you don't honestly want people to believe the shit that comes out of your mouth, man. You might fool people when you make a claim that you're a technician, all right? You may have a small percentage.
God, he's so funny when he tries to go on and on to throw you off to skirt the point of the issue without answering the question. But I'm glad he's doing this on video because watch what I do.
So why do you keep on, man? You're a 53-year-old man. Grow up already. All right? That's why I said there's something seriously wrong with you, man. That's why I keep saying I stress the fact that you need to take your meds. If you took your psychotic medication, and if you haven't been taking it because you haven't been prescribed it, you really do need to, man. You need to see a strength and see what's going on up in that head of yours, man. Because there's no Joe Pistone in your life, Richard. You were never a cop. You have to understand that. You follow me so far, Richard? You need help. You need help. You didn't kill anyone in the line of duty. All right? What is that, West 3rd and Avenue U? You didn't kill people. Supposedly they were the hitmen for the Gambino crime family. 3 alleged hitmen. And you killed one of them single-handedly with the eagle claw and ripped out his esophagus. You did not do that, Richard. That's fabrication. That's some shit you read. Then you turn it around and put yourself in that scenario saying that you were the one who did it. That's extreme mental illness, Richard. Do you follow me so far, Richard?
Well, you know, Mr. Enforcer, I can follow you perfectly. And the public has a hard time understanding you because first we're talking about claims. You see, you say that I convinced them by claiming. Mr. Enforcer, you say that by me claim that I'm delusional. You try to convince them that I'm your crack-smoking buddy because you explicitly told them you have a videotape of this. You made a claim, one that you can't prove to them out here. I made claims that I've proved and didn't have to prove. Now, as far as my job, yes, I claim what I do for a living. No, I understand this terrifies you. I understand that you are not law enforcement because if you were, you would clearly understand that if I was able to produce a credential on YouTube to satisfy you, that would be fraud. And I, as powerful as I am, it wouldn't stick to me, but I would get arrested and processed for impersonating myself because I am suspended without pay. That's my status, which means I don't bear those 4 cred cards I should have in my wallet at the moment. Nor do I possess any on-the-job firearms associated or listed with those credentials. Now, my uniforms, if I stepped out into public wearing one of those uniforms right now, again, I would be arrested for impersonating myself. So I'm not making a claim of fantasy. I am stating claims of reality. You say I'm not a cop. You say I don't know Joe. You say my mother is like yours on record for prostitution. I don't know if your mother was a hairdresser by day and a hit woman by night. You know what I mean? I cannot confirm that, so I will not claim that. However, I do know that she's on 28 and 29 for prostitution. I do know that my mother got immunity for murder of killing a cop in my kitchen, backed and endorsed by the FBI, and she never uttered the words, my son is a cop. See, I can make this and prove it. You understand? But I don't have to prove it to you because you're nobody. You're just a cat that likes to make claims, can't substantiate or back them up. You understand? Now, I understand you perfectly. It's how I did you all these years. But you have to remember something. Psychotic and delusion go together. And the delusional fantasy you had by telling all the people out here you had a videotape of me smoking crack on Utica Avenue was your biggest downfall. Look what it did to you, my man. I know you suffer from ADD, so you know what would enable me to prove that you are psychotic? All the claims and statements of what you're gonna do. Your implication and physical threats. See, keying up and calling me names, I'm not worried about that. That don't even constrict harassment. But the claims of you threatening my physical body, saying you went out and bought special equipment, you're going to use this tool on me, this weapon, you're going to do this to me when you find me, that is psychotic. That is not a claim. I'm not a doctor. I don't have to diagnose you as being psychotic. I'm an officer of the law, okay? If I said to you, do you feel like hurting Richie? And you said to me, you got a pair of pliers, you're going to do this, you got what Kevlar. Dude, I'm taking you in. You're going right in for evaluation. There's a difference between me and you. This thing you're trying to perpetrate out here, you made all it up. You want to perpetrate yourself to being something I am and you're not, as me punking you. You understand how this works? In case you don't know what I mean here, that's the NYC Radio Wars playlist, the first video. Okay? How did I punk you? You're not punking nobody. It's clear as day. Unless I take you off the face of this earth, you're still going to clown because I'm a fraud. You cannot prove anything I say I am is a fraud or untrue. However, how many things came out of your mouth that I prove was untrue? I don't know, Mr. Enforcer. Like I said, the scoreboard above people's radios is so far fucking tilted to Richie's side, they don't even want to know me no more. You know, I'm like that 70s commercial, the Automobile Club of America. Did you have to be that good? Now, I don't know, Mr. Enforcer. You seem really talkative tonight. I like that. So since you're real talkative, I want to ask you a question. And make sure you answer the question to the point. We don't want to hear anything else come out of your mouth about this news or this issue or that issue or whatever it is I claim or whatever it is you heard. I'm going to ask you one time. What to give you the implication that you were going to go to the Barclays Center and find Richie there today? What in your delusional, half-psychotic brain gave you that impression?
Well, if I can remember clearly, and I do very much remember that you agreed. You said, you know what, Enforcer, I want to meet you there today. If that's what makes you feel good. I said, fine, let's do this. And we had a couple of witnesses out there. Red Hook was out there. There's a few people I heard you agree to it, but Richard, how the hell, this is funny. How could you get arrested for impersonating yourself if you put a uniform on and, you're impersonating an officer? You're not an officer in any way or form. So you'll be impersonating something that you're not impersonating yourself. Let's get that clear. You're not a cop. You never were one and you never will be one. So stop saying you're impersonating yourself.
I'm going back and forth. I can't hear. I just static. 19 radio.
We'll continue this session in a few.
Oh, no, sir. No, sir. We won't continue. Mr. Enforcer, you're over here claiming that you are a cop. You're an officer of the law. You have these strong-arm credentials. Mr. Enforcer, if you are any kind of cop and you are suspended without pay and you go out into public with that uniform, what can you be arrested and charged with, sir?
What's going on here? What's the argument?
You can be arrested for impersonating something. Impersonating yourself. You're impersonating an officer, which you're not. You're going to get arrested for impersonating yourself. It makes no sense. Because you're not an officer. You're not a cop. You have no creds. You never did. You never will. So if you put on a uniform, you'll be an impersonating law enforcement. So let's clarify that, Richard, because you're trying to throw the people off right here.
All right, Mr. Enforcer. You just came half clean. But I made you answer the question. I see you're half smart. I understand that you fully understand that, one, you're definitely not a cop with no creds. Because if you were and you got suspended, you would know what happens if you walk outside in your uniform and say you're a cop. But let's get back to the reality of it. What gives you the justification, or what has proven to you that I am not that cop and I do not possess those creds?
You said it in your own words, man. You said, don't you remember McNightmares? What did you say to that gentleman? When he goes, Richie, man. Richie, show me your badge, Richie. What did you say? Nah, dog, I'm suspended without pay. I don't have any badges. You said so many times you're suspended without pay. You have no shield, no creds, no guns. You just said it a few minutes ago, Richard. Do you forget this?
Well, no, Mr. Enforcer. I'm trying to understand, you being the cop that you are, that if you heard me say I'm suspended without pay, I don't have a badge. So, Mr. Enforcer, what you're saying to me is that if a cop is suspended without pay, he still has his badge? Is that what you're trying to tell the public? Because you're saying that because I said that, this is your justification of proof that I do not own any creds. You understand? Mr. Enforcer, you're trying to spin it around to try to suit your delusional fantasy. But the reality is, right now, Richie's got the tri-state and orange showing you up, dude. You heard me say explicitly in that video that was on YouTube before I even erected a CB antenna that you found out 2 years after you started arguing me about that video. Nevertheless, you heard me make a statement. Come on, do something. Show them your badge. Okay, and I specifically said, I'm suspended without pay. I do not have a badge. Now, unless I lied right there, unless I'm telling a lie, unless that is a lie, Is it enough for you to say certain I'm never a cop, was never a cop, but I do not possess these credentials? Because I know that you've seen the officer when the guy says, he's recorded, he's allowed to do that. Did you see the way they nixed him off? Did you see the grin they threw at me? You understand? Yeah, Mr. 25 Below. Maybe you're a little confused here, but again, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you it specifically the way you ask me. What police officers do you know at this moment, I want their name, who were suspended without pay and could pull out their badge and credential? I'm sorry. Did your delusional half-psychotic need to take meds, brain, lose track of something here? Guys, I guess we're in the Enforcer 250 court of law, and the gavel went down, and the judge walked out 30 seconds ago. All right, I'm going to go make some coffee while he gets his tea, and I guess we'll try to extract that answer when he comes back. You know, I mean, I don't really care about the answer. I care more about how he's justifying his accusations. And as you can see, it's based on a sentence that I had stated. Radio check. You're working fine, dude. To all the public out here, just for the record, NYC.March is live, has been live for the last 43 minutes and 27 seconds. I come off this key. So you can actually get your radio check while I go make this cup of coffee by going to YouTube and typing in two magic words. NYC.March. NYC.March. Like, you know, they say you can't teach an old dog new trick. Well, I'm teaching these mutts manners, and I'm schooling them royally. And if anybody can contradict that or say this is not true, please state your justification for it. Do not get like Punky Pieman that realizes he's beaten, destroyed up every avenue, that he's looking for crackhead theatrics to save him out here. No. Please don't do that. That's like very, very laughable, and it is entertaining, but it's not going to make you profit, prosper, or progress in any avenue. Well, you have a live video gate, sir. You do not have to ask for a radio check. You can hear it yourself. Go to YouTube and type in NYC.March. You got about 5 minutes to get all your stuff off before I come back and start modulating again, because I'm going to go make this pot of coffee. I figure it's going to take Punky Pieman about 15 minutes to come back before that hit of crack wears off that he was dying to get to. So we'll see what happens. He says he was coming back, and, you know, I didn't want to stop him getting his tea, you know, but $1 to donuts, he ain't coming back no more tonight. You know why? Because every word that came out of his mouth, I made him swallow it and shit it out. And unfortunately, his asshole does not close. So he had to run to the toilet. And he'll be there for a while, dude.
NYC.March, we'll check it out.
I didn't stutter, sir. Courtesy of your hole-in-the-wall, non-Crooklyn, Brooklyn, New York CB shop. Pistol Grip 127, a.k.a. Richie. The most talked about, envied, and feared man on and off this mic. Till somebody shows up on my sidewalk and proves me different.
Copy that, Mr. Richie. I've heard about you.
Oh, yeah? Do I need to ask what kind of things you've heard?
Heard 2x4 mention you a couple times.
In that case, I'll have to take your word you heard as being zero. Because coming from a guy that makes up shit and runs on what he heard, you know, the way you answered that question actually gives you a little bit of hope out here. But if you answered it any other way along with that, man, I'd have to say that it might be a waste of time to try to modulate or ever attempt to do business with me. So keep that in mind when you're dealing with Richie, man. I know you hear lots of talk in them yards and them quarries from the old-timers telling you some straight-up shit. So, you know, when it comes to I heard, Make sure you're listening to the guys that were driving for 30 years. Make sure you're listening to the owners of the trucking companies and the quarries. If you're listening to anybody that's been on the road for the last 10 years, it's all what they heard. Okay? In 2004, I hung my mic up. Hung my mic up because my badge was hung up as well. So I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I did not pick up a mic or look at a CB radio or erect an antenna or put my voice over the air for 9 straight fucking years. Now, for the big CB shop guru, you're going to find out about all those Jersey truck yards, quarries, and PA truck yard and quarries. You have to understand, there was reasoning for this. I could say there's a reason for everything. Yes, there is. I'll stand there in the face and tell somebody, that's a lie. There is not. Only because I cannot let the rest of the public know what time it is. Unfortunately, things are the way they are. I, myself, would not change anything in this motherfucking world other than the way it is. Not one little itty-bitty aspect of it. The invincible monster is getting a cup of coffee. I'll be back.
Hey, I'll check out the website, brother. Good talking with you, Rich.
You have a good night, sir. And tell 2x4 if he's going to talk about a man, make sure he hangs out and runs with him. And tell him I said if he's got anything to say, he knows where the corner of 46 and Winthrop is. And tell him Richie said, I'm not 206, man. He made a date with me, dude. He told me like last year he was coming to bring his camera and he was going to pull up and shit. And I'm still waiting for him, really. But I understand he's so jealous he's running around calling himself Crackhead Richie these days. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that's something I heard. That's something I heard with my own ears on 2 Skipland video gates when I came off the key. All right, I'm going to go make this cup of coffee now. Y'all enjoy the live video gate. And when Punky comes back with his cup of tea and his cracked up jaw, tell him don't go nowhere. Tell him I asked, I see he runs. I mean, you ever see a guy run like that? I mean, I don't want to pull the pussy play and go, I thought so. Because, he usually does that after I answer the question in its entirety and it makes him look like an asshole. But not enough of an asshole to drive him silent. So, you see what drove him silent, right? You see how very meticulous and articulate I am with the words, right? I'm very to the point. I told him he's going up against a very decorated motherfucker and an ace interrogator. The last thing you ever want to do is lock it up with me. You see where that got him. You see what 2 playlists that got him. They're getting smart these days. They're not talking about what they're going to do when they get me no more. They're just talking about me, painting me up in their image. And I call that a blessing. I wouldn't change that for anything in this world. And I'm not going to lie to you folks. I'm going to tell you clear, whether you believe me or not. Because of the things that came out of Enforcer 250's mouth that he clearly suffers from ADD and does not remember, is the reason why he will never show up at Utica and Clarkson, never made 2 fake videos, because if he gets caught on that particular avenue between those 2 blocks, he's there for one reason. If I identify him, I am going to try to kill him on the spot. I'm not going to wait for him to move. I'm going to take him out where he stands. And he knows I'm going to get away with it. Why? Because upon recognition, I'm going to immediately feel my life and well-being is in danger. And if you ask me why, I'll be more than happy to play it for you. I mean, so it's on audio, video. You want me to play it against him? And that's that. So we'll take all his Utica Clarkson fantasies off the board right now. Like the notion he told you, well, you said you were going to show up today. I said if you produce any one of your Utica Avenue videos on air right now that anybody out here can see, I'll be there. I guess that gave him the notion. I'd like to know where you got the notion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the video game from earlier was wrong. Who knows? Maybe the man he said was out here, Red Hooker, can attest to being wrong as well. Gotta suck when you're going up against Nemesis. 1/5 of this globe. Notice I'm not saying 1/5 of the USA. I'm telling you, 1/5 of this chibi globe. When they hear the name Nemesis, they think of one thing and one thing only. Richie Capuano. Because that's who Nemesis is to them. The chief, the leader of the pack, rubbing in your face everything you don't believe in. If you can make an FBI agent believe in God, you could do anything. Richie's clear. You ain't gotta thank me, man. Ever. If I got it, you got it. That's all you need to know. You know why? You got a place to live. And I have a place to live too. Saturday night's alright for fighting. Is it really this quiet out here? Hey, did that crackhead ever come back from his cup of tea? Or is his mouth too still jaw numb to talk? Which one? Damn, man. We didn't even get on the other things he asked about and he ran. Like after 3 years of hearing him recite the story and call it correct as being West 4th Street, today he says West 3rd Street. See, the man suffers from ADD. Doesn't know the truth if it bit him, but yet he'll make up. I mean, what would possess a man to tell the world, hey, I got a video of this guy doing blah, 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 right? And it not be true. What do you think you bought for yourself after that? I don't know. Maybe, listen, maybe I'm wrong here. Come on, Punky Senior, enlighten us. I crawled out of his speaker and I pumped him and his whole bitch-ass crew. All the tough guys that were going to do this, that, and the other thing when we get you, I crawled out of their speakers and I let them wreck themselves. I let their own mouths play them. I didn't play them. They played themselves. And by the time they figured it out, it was all too late. So what could you do to mash that embarrassment to shake it off? Get all fantasy on us. Nobody has made up more lies and rumors about me to this date on Videogate than the bad boy. To me, that's not a bad boy at all. A bad boy is the motherfucker who comes to the sidewalk one time and do anything he said he was going to do for 2 years. To me, that's a bad boy. You don't come to the sidewalk, sing and dance, and pay me while you're stripping. No. And laugh about it. It's like, how did I punk you? Come give me some more money, man. I mean, I understand why they do that. Because they know they can't handle it like any other CB confrontation because their own mouth played them and wrecked them. They know what happens if one of them attempts to identify themselves in front of me on that sidewalk. Before the identification is done, I'm going to snuff them where they stand. And that's it. Okay? All I need is that identification confirmation. When you look at me, you better realize something. Forget the cops around you. Forget the cameras around you. When you look in my eye, that's my camera. See, those cameras ain't telling you shit. Okay? When you look at me, you better understand. You're looking at, just make like you're looking directly into the camcorder, making your moves. Okay, if you want to sneak me, that's fine. That's never going to happen. Okay, I'm telling you, I'm equipped like a mosquito. That's why I do not look behind me at any given time. You understand? Unless I'm behind the wheel driving. Then I do look behind me. But on the street, I don't ever look behind me. I ain't worried about anything behind me. There's a difference. You feel me? So, I mean, if you really want to know what it is I've done to these motherfuckers, or what it is they did to themselves, hey, look, my first 2 video channels for the last year and a half have been getting over 2,000 views monthly. Monthly! They're getting more hits than any other channel I got. Why is that? Because everybody wants to know how this thing panned out, how this thing evolved. You got school teachers and a police academy teachers teaching new recruits using my videos, showing them how it is done by the book and where the book stops and the buck starts. You know what I mean? I wouldn't change my life for anything in this fucking world. If I had it my way, I would change some of the people in my government. But I'm already getting ready. I'm already going to do that, so I'm not worried about that. Should have better stay. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, the FBI, let me tell you something. The FBI died with Operation Sun Apple. And that's all I'm going to say. Hasn't been the same since, dude. Has not been the same since. They have not done one motherfucking thing. Look how long it took them to bag John Gotti. How many times, how long did John Gotti make these guys look like assholes? You understand? I'm trying to tell you, man. The FBI died with Operation Sun Apple. Now, it took me a couple of decades to figure out why I was in Quantico for 14 fucking hours taking written tests. And at the end of the day, I said, yo, what was all this for? Don't worry about it. Just know you aced all of them. You know? I didn't get an FBI badge that day. I wouldn't have accepted it if I did. You know what I mean? But then again, I ain't too fucking worried. I like the 4 badges I got. Because I'm bigger than their whole fucking agency. And every agent in it.
Got him good, brother. Roasted their little Easters.
They roasted themselves. I'm just going to be the one bagging it up and serving it. Or burying it, however they want it.
But they're just a bunch of crybabies anyway. We know this.
Besides being homos and junkies, okay, you're right. You're definitely right. And you don't need me to tell you that. Y'all all got ears. Y'all got ears. You got to be your own men, be your own mind, and use your own judgment. Well, it seems like when you did that in the NYC Radio Wars #1 video, not one of y'all got called a Richie Dick Licker. You know, if you do that today, you're a Richie Dick Licker. Forget that you're the community that's been on this radio for decades while they've been trying to fuck it up for the last 3 years because they got kicked off every other base channel following Richie around. You know what I'm saying? Ain't none of these operators got a problem with Richie other than he puts a little too much flash in their radio and didn't allow nobody to get their name called for his first 8 months. I mean, I understand. That's something to be mad at. I ain't mad at y'all. Well, I understand that. That's why I'm a talk shower and prover. And nobody can say contrary to that to this date.
Repeat after me.
Oh, put his foot down.
Hey, whoever it was in DX land putting your foot down, I'm sort of like wondering why Punky ran for the cup of tea and didn't come back yet. He spends hours out here trying to convince people he steps on me out there in DX, but ain't got one video gate of his own to back it up. And when you hear the DX side of the video gates, when you actually do hear him, watch what happens when I key up. Look at the carrier difference. So, you know, his idea of stepping on somebody must be a 3 or a 5 stepping on the 9-10. You know, I like this game, man. This got to be Russian CB or Russian roulette played Chinese.